Hello my motor enthusiasts. You're tuned into F1 Motor Fever podcast.
Hello Enzo, quite the shake-up at the Hungarian Grand Prix, wasn't it?
Absolutely, William. Pole position went to Lando Norris with McLaren, not just topping the charts, but leading a stunning 1-2 finish for his team.
That's quite impressive. And what about Oscar Piastri? How did he fare?
Oscar clinched second place. Despite a mistake in turn for during the first lap of Q3, he bounced back with a solid second lap that cemented his position.
And Max Verstappen? Not his best weekend, I gather.
Spot on, William. Max ended up third and expressed quite a bit of frustration over the weekend. He acknowledged being a bit behind and facing a tricky situation.
With Norris and Piastri at the front, does this signal a shift in team dynamics?
It might well do. McLaren's performance has been on the rise, and this race could be a turning point. But Verstappen isn't one to back down easily. He's eyeing to catch up in the race.
And what about the team strategies for the race? Any insights on that?
Both McLaren drivers have discussed maintaining their 1-2 position and fighting for the championship as a team. Verstappen, meanwhile, hopes for a good race balance to challenge the McLarens.
Sounds like a strategic battle as much as a speed one. Can't wait to dive deeper into this.
Hello, my motor enthusiasts, and a very warm welcome to F1 Motor Fever podcast. I'm Enzo, coming to you live from London, and joining me today is the ever-insightful William, hailing from Birmingham. We're here to bring you the latest and greatest from the world of Formula One.
Thanks, Enzo. Always a pleasure to dive into the nitty-gritty of racing with you and all our listeners.
And we're thrilled to have you all tune in every day right here on F1 Motor Fever podcast. If you're loving our discussions, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, drop us a comment, and share this podcast with your friends and family. Your support is what keeps our engines running.
Absolutely, and you definitely don't want to miss out on what Enzo has got lined up today.
Oh, and trust me, you won't believe what I'm about to reveal. It's absolutely mind-blowing and utterly crucial for any racing fan. So, stick around, because today's topic is not just exciting, it's game-changing.
That's the spirit. Let's get those gears turning.
Full throttle. Let's dive into the action. So, it was a thrilling qualifying at the Hungarian Grand Prix, with Lando Norris clinching another pole. It sounds like the conditions were pretty tricky, but it ended up being a top day for McLaren.
Indeed, and the confidence within the McLaren team must be sky-high now, especially after securing the top 2 spots on the grid. Norris seemed very upbeat about their chances, even with the expected change in weather for the race.
That's right. And speaking of weather, Norris mentioned that they're well prepared for any conditions. With both McLaren cars at the front row, they're in a prime position to control the race from the start.
Absolutely, controlling the race from the front will be crucial. Norris was pretty straightforward about his expectations too, wasn't he? He's looking to go one better than last year, aiming for nothing short of a win.
Yes, that's the spirit of a true racer. And it's not just about the individual glory. The team's performance is critical, and McLaren has been showing strong signs of improvement every weekend.
True, and let's not forget the strategic element that comes into play, especially after the start. The first few corners at the Hungaroring are notoriously tight, so keeping that 1-2 position will be key for McLaren.
Spot on. And with today's performance, they seem well placed to do just that. It's shaping up to be an exciting race day. Moving on to Oscar Piastri's performance, he was just as thrilled, wasn't he? The support from the Papaya fans was immense, and that first 1-2 in qualifying for McLaren in ages must have felt phenomenal.
Definitely, the atmosphere must have been electric. Piastri mentioned that despite the tiny margin he lost by, just 0.02, it was still a solid day for him. He acknowledged some areas could have been slightly better, but overall, the result was fantastic for McLaren.
Absolutely, and it's fascinating how these small details can be so crucial in Formula One. Just a fraction of a second can make all the difference. And speaking of tomorrow, Piastri's all geared up to take the lead from, let's see, was it Daniel Ricciardo sitting in front of him?
Blimey, you had me there for a second. It's Lando Norris who's in front, not Ricciardo.
Hee, just pulling your leg. But yes, with both McLaren cars at the front, it's going to be a strategic masterpiece trying to maintain that 1-2 position. Piastri seems ready to fight, but also mindful of the team's overall championship goals.
That's right, and it's that balance between individual ambition and team strategy that can make or break a race. Piastri's got a good head on his shoulders, understanding that keeping the cars in top positions without jeopardizing the team's chance is crucial.
Exactly, and with such a long run down to turn 1, as Piastri pointed out, everything is still to play for. The first few moments of the race will be critical for McLaren to assert their dominance.
And let's not forget the importance of teamwork. With a car that's performing well and two drivers at the top of their game, McLaren is surely eyeing not just a race win but a strong push in the championship standings.
And then there's Max Verstappen, always a fierce competitor. Despite securing the third spot, he did mention that they've been trailing a bit behind this weekend, particularly in terms of grip.
Yes, it sounds like Red Bull Racing didn't have the qualifying session they hoped for. Verstappen seemed pretty candid about the challenges they faced, noting that it's been difficult to pinpoint the exact issues.
Absolutely. He mentioned the lack of grip, but still, third place isn't far off the pace. He's hopeful that the race conditions tomorrow might play into their hands, especially with the expected heat.
That's true. Heat often changes the dynamics quite a bit. With the hotter conditions, strategies will have to be adapted. Verstappen did hint at hoping for a favorable shift with the weather.
Speaking of strategies, I heard that Red Bull might be bringing in a whole new engine upgrade for tomorrow's race. Could be a game changer, don't you think?
Good heavens, I almost believed you. That would be quite the mid-season surprise.
Just a bit of fun. But realistically, it will be down to how well they can manage with what they've got. As Verstappen said, it's a long race, and overtaking here isn't straightforward. It'll be interesting to see how he and the team handle the pressure.
Definitely, and with McLaren looking strong, Red Bull will need to pull out all the stops to keep up. It'll be fascinating to watch how these teams battle it out, especially with those tricky first turns at the Hungaroring.
Indeed, those first laps will be critical. Everyone will be jostling for position, and with the tight corners, it's anyone's game. Speaking of the Hungaroring, here's a bit of trivia that might tickle the fancy of our listeners. Did you know the circuit is often called Monaco without the buildings? It's due to its tight and twisty nature, making overtaking a serious challenge, much like the famous street circuit.
That's an interesting comparison. It really emphasizes the skill drivers need to excel on such a technical track. Anything else up your sleeve?
Indeed, there's more. The Hungaroring was the venue for the first Grand Prix behind the Iron Curtain back in the year of 1986. Since then, it's been a constant presence in the Formula One calendar, making it one of the longest-running Grand Prix in Eastern Europe.
That's quite historic. It's amazing to think about the evolution of the sport and how these circuits have played pivotal roles. The Hungaroring has certainly seen its fair share of dramatic races over the years.
Absolutely, and while we're on the topic of drama, the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix was particularly notable. It was the first Formula One race won by Jenson Button, who started from 14th on the grid, an incredible achievement given the circuit's reputation.
That race was a spectacular showcase of skill and strategy. Button's performance under those rainy conditions was nothing short of masterful. It just shows how unpredictable Formula One can be, doesn't it?
It surely does. Every race weekend writes a new page in the history books, and with the current lineup of talent and the technological advancements in play, who knows what memorable moments we'll witness next. Moving on to McLaren's performance, it's been quite the session for them with their first front row lockout since 2012. The changing conditions really tested the driver's skills. Lando mentioned how the grip levels kept changing, especially with the brief rain during qualifying.
Yes, it sounds like a challenging session but rewarding for McLaren. The way the track conditions evolved from wet to dry so rapidly meant the drivers really had to be on their toes. Lando did say that once the rain stopped, the grip was significantly better, allowing them to push harder.
That's right. And with the conditions expected to heat up tomorrow, it'll be fascinating to see how the teams adapt their strategies. Lando seemed quite optimistic about their long-run pace, which could mean we're in for an exciting race.
Indeed, their confidence level seems high, and with both their cars at the front, they have a solid chance to capitalize on that. It's also interesting to hear Lando talk about the team dynamics, especially going into the first turn, which can be quite crucial in determining the outcome of the race.
Absolutely, those first few corners can be make-or-break moments. It's all about finding that balance between aggression and caution. Sounds like McLaren has a clear plan, though they still need to fine-tune their approach before the race.
With such a promising position at the start, it will definitely be crucial how they manage that. The team dynamics and how they handle the internal competition will be key to maximizing their chances without risking too much.
Exactly. Tomorrow's race holds a lot of promise based on today's performances. It will be interesting to see how strategies unfold, especially with the unpredictable nature of Formula One. Oscar's performance in qualifying was notably impressive, wasn't it? Just a couple of hundredths off his teammate, and he managed to claw back a significant amount of time on that second run in Q3. He pinpointed turn 4 as the area where he made up most of the time due to correcting a massive mistake from his first lap.
It's always a thrill to hear about these moments of redemption. To come back from a disappointing lap and deliver under pressure shows real tenacity. And it's clear the car's performing well this weekend, which must be a morale booster for the whole team.
Absolutely, and the enthusiasm in the paddock is palpable. Both drivers seem very optimistic about their race chances. Oscar mentioned that, despite a few tricky moments with rain early in Q1 and some issues with the doctors, the session went quite smoothly afterwards.
Yes, the weather has indeed added an extra layer of challenge, hasn't it? It's fascinating to see how these drivers adjust to such dynamic conditions. Oscar mentioned the curbs were still wet at the start, which could really affect the car's stability and grip.
True, and looking ahead, Oscar seems cautiously confident about his race preparations. He feels they've completed about 90% of what they wanted to do, which isn't perfect, but it's pretty close. And with his previous experience racing in other formulas at this track, albeit not from such a promising starting position, it's going to be an intriguing race.
Definitely. The dynamics at turn 1 will be crucial, especially with contenders like Max potentially making bold moves from behind. The variety of lines through that wide corner could really mix things up.
It's set to be a cracking race day. The anticipation for how these strategies and dynamics will unfold is just electrifying. Let's see what tomorrow brings on the track. It's intriguing to note the strategic nuances at the start of the race. The long run to turn 1 offers a significant slipstream opportunity, doesn't it? We've seen in the past, positions can change dramatically there, setting the tone for the rest of the race.
Indeed, the dynamics at the start are crucial. It's a fine balance between aggression and maintaining position. Hearing how starting from 4th last year can propel a driver to 2nd by turn 1 really highlights the possibilities. It's something I've never quite considered from that angle before, but it's an excellent point to ponder.
And speaking of strategies, Max's approach in the qualifying session was quite telling. Going out first to set a lap time in Q3 seemed to be a calculated risk with the intermittent rain. It's interesting to hear that despite the new component on the car, he's still finding the balance a challenge and feels the car is a bit too slow compared to the McLaren's.
That's a significant admission, considering the expectations usually placed on his performances. The ongoing development and tuning of the car components are clearly still a work in progress. Max mentioned pushing harder than last year, yet not achieving the lap times he's aiming for, which must be frustrating.
Absolutely. It does bring up questions about the development direction and what more they can do to extract that extra performance. Max's candidness about the situation shows just how competitive this sport is and how marginal the gains need to be to make a difference.
And with the race approaching, his uncertainty on how to outpace the McLarens this weekend adds another layer of intrigue. It seems like it's going to be quite the strategic battle on the track, with drivers and teams needing to be on top of their game to make the most of every opportunity.
Indeed, the chess game that is Formula One never ceases to present new challenges and learning curves. Tomorrow's race is shaping up to be another thrilling chapter in this relentless pursuit of speed and strategy. Reflecting on the tactics after the red flag in Q3, it was quite a scene with Lando sitting at the end of the pit lane. It's a bit like waiting for the bus, isn't it? You know it probably won't come any quicker, but you wait anyway just in case.
Ha ha ha, that's a good one. It's indeed like hoping for a miracle bus that zooms you right to your doorstep in rush hour. But in Formula One, even that slim chance can make all the difference, can't it?
Exactly. And speaking of slim chances, Max's comments about missing Kimi Räikkönen, or rather not, were quite something. It seems Max is more focused on the track than on nostalgia.
Ha ha ha, yes, he's all about moving forward, isn't he? Though the thought of Kimi at the go-kart track, coaching the next generation, is quite endearing. From Formula One tracks to go-kart tracks, the race never really ends.
True, it's just a change of venue. And you know, speaking of changes, I wonder if Max will ever fancy a quiet Sunday at the go-kart track once he hangs up his racing gloves.
Ha ha ha, that's a picture. Max, the go-kart dad. It's funny how these drivers evolve, from fierce competitors on the world stage to possibly pacing around a small track, stopwatch in hand, cheering on the little ones.
It's a cycle, isn't it? Today's champions could be tomorrow's racing dads. But for now, let's see how they fare in tomorrow's race, with all the tactical gambles and weather playing into the drama.
Indeed, it's going to be a spectacle. The unpredictability of Formula One is what keeps us all hooked, after all.
It seems like the pressure of having just one proper shot in qualifying really played its part. Lando mentioned losing out in Q2 due to managing tyre sets poorly from Q1. It's a fine line between being cautious and being caught out, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's like walking a tightrope. Every decision can tip the balance one way or the other. And when you're sitting there at the end of the pit lane, hoping you've played your cards right, the tension must be palpable.
Speaking of palpable tension, I heard a little whisper that some of the drivers weren't too pleased with how things were managed at the end with the pit lane closure. It's a bit like musical chairs, isn't it? When the music stops, you'd better find a seat quickly, or you're out of the game.
Ha ha ha, that's an amusing way to put it, but we ought to be careful with such insinuations. They do create colorful narratives, but it's not always the full truth, is it?
You're right, it's always best to stick to the facts. Though, it's interesting to see how strategies and decisions unfold in the heat of the moment. Lando's experience in Q2 really highlights the razor-thin margins in Formula One.
It does, and it goes to show that even with the best laid plans, you need a bit of luck on your side. But then, that's racing for you, always unpredictable and always thrilling.
Lando's approach this season seems to be very level-headed. He's not putting any extra pressure on himself to outdo Max in particular, but aims for strong, consistent performance across the board.
It's refreshing, isn't it? In a sport where every point, every position can make a huge difference at the end of the season, keeping a cool head and focusing on every race as it comes is quite admirable.
Definitely. And speaking of focus, Max seems to be in a tricky spot with the Red Bull car. It's been described as having a narrow window to extract the best performance. That must add an extra layer of challenge on top of the usual race day pressures.
That's true. It sounds like they're really having to push the limits to keep up, especially when the car doesn't naturally fit all circuits. It's a bit like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, battling to make it work.
Exactly, and it makes you appreciate the engineering battle happening off the track as much as the driving on it. Each team tweaking and tuning, trying to find that elusive sweet spot that gives them the edge.
Oh, absolutely, the behind-the-scenes efforts are immense. And it's not just about making a fast car, it's about making a car that can consistently be fast everywhere, which is a whole other challenge.
With the challenges laid out, it'll be fascinating to see how things unfold. Will Lando manage to convert his pole position into a victory, or will the narrow performance window hinder Max's efforts? It's all to play for, and that's the beauty of Formula One, isn't it?
Indeed it is. Unpredictability is part of the allure, keeping us all on the edge of our seats. Every race weekend writes a new story.
Today's discussions really shed some light on the subtleties of Formula One racing, particularly how critical the balance and grip of the car are. The teams are constantly tweaking and adjusting, trying to squeeze every bit of performance out of these machines.
It's a never-ending battle, isn't it? The slightest change in weather can throw off a whole weekend's worth of planning. Like we heard, a few degrees difference in temperature can change the tire behavior drastically.
Absolutely. And it's intriguing to hear directly from the drivers how these changes affect their race. Lando mentioned a significant improvement in lap times just from the tires performing better in cooler conditions. It goes to show how every little detail counts.
Yes, and speaking of details, Max's comments about being the first on track during Q3 were quite telling. It illustrates another layer of strategy, choosing track position to possibly sacrifice the toe but gain a clear run. It's all about trade-offs.
Indeed, and these trade-offs can sometimes make or break a session. Max seemed confident that it was the right call, despite the lack of a toe, which could have given him a slight edge. It's fascinating how these decisions are made in the moment, under immense pressure.
And then, there's the ongoing issue with the Red Bull car's narrow performance window. Despite the upgrades, Max noted no significant change in the car's balance, which continues to challenge him. It must be frustrating to push so hard and still find the car tricky to manage.
That's the harsh reality of this sport. Perfection is the goal, but it's rarely achieved. Every upgrade, every tweak is a gamble. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But it's that constant pursuit of improvement that makes Formula One so compelling.
True, and tomorrow's race will be another test of how well these teams have adapted to the conditions and optimized their strategies. With the weather expected to shift again, it'll be interesting to see who manages to find that extra bit of performance when it counts.
That's right. Predicting Formula One is a fool's errand, but it's safe to say that we're in for some surprises. The team's ability to adapt and the driver's skills at managing these ever-changing conditions will definitely be key factors in the outcome of the race. It's all building up to what promises to be a thrilling spectacle. Today's insights really highlight the ebb and flow of Formula One, don't they? It's fascinating to hear how just a day's difference in weather can shift the dynamics of tire management and car balance so drastically. To think, 2.5 seconds faster per lap than just yesterday.
It's quite the roller coaster. And it isn't just about the drivers navigating the track, it's the teams behind them constantly analyzing data, making split-second decisions on strategy. It's a whole team effort to adjust to these swift changes.
Exactly, and that brings an incredible layer of excitement to the sport. Each race isn't just another race, it's a unique challenge, a puzzle that needs solving in real time, under real pressure. It's exhilarating.
And speaking of pressure, the situation with Checo is a testament to how tough this sport can be. Being knocked out so early today must be tough, especially when he's been under so much scrutiny.
Yes, it's a shame, really. And then there's Max, clearly frustrated with how things went during the qualifying session. It's a high-stress environment, and every little setback can amplify those feelings of frustration.
That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? High stakes, high pressure. And with the weather playing a pivotal role again tomorrow, it's anyone's game. The strategy with the tires, choosing to use the hard tires today to save others for the race, it's all part of this intricate dance.
It really is a spectacular dance. And that's why we love this sport, isn't it? The unpredictability, the strategy, the sheer skill of everyone involved, from the drivers to the engineers and everyone in between.
Absolutely, it keeps us coming back race after race, year after year. Always something new to see, some new challenge for the teams to overcome. It's what makes Formula One, Formula One.
As we near the end of today's discussion, it's clear that the strategic decisions made by the teams, like the one Max mentioned about tyre choices, underscore the chess-like nature of Formula One. Each choice, each move is calculated with an aim, yet the outcome isn't always predictable.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The theory, the strategy all laid out, and yet, the actual race day brings its own set of variables. Decisions that seem marginal could turn out to be race-winning or the complete opposite.
Precisely, and that's why tomorrow's race is so anticipated. Will the decisions taken today pay off? It's a gamble, but as Max said, they feel it's the right way. Only time will tell if they've made the correct call.
And that uncertainty, that not knowing until it actually happens, it adds an extra layer of excitement for us as spectators and analysts. We get to see strategies unfold, adapt, succeed or falter in real time.
Definitely. And as we prepare to tune into tomorrow's race, let's keep an eye on these strategic elements. How will the weather affect the track conditions? Will the tyre strategies pan out as expected?
A multitude of questions, and soon we'll have the answers. It's all set to be another thrilling chapter in the world of Formula One racing.
William, what's the word on the street, internet-wise?
Right, let's have a butcher's at some of the latest banter from the trenches of the internet. We've got a buzz about Sergio Perez crashing during a session, which caused a red flag. Quite the stir it's caused among the fans.
Oh, do tell. What are they saying then?
Well, user Alex Parsons remarked, quote, "This is the kind of job security people dream of," unquote. A bit of sarcasm there, I reckon.
Not holding back, are they? Anything else?
Yes, several folks chimed in. User Gail Simmons from Gemini Space mentioned, quote, "In before 6 new Mexican sponsorships worth about $1 million each to stop Perez from getting sacked," unquote. And then, Selena M. jokingly asked if a bloke named Pat O'Ward isn't Irish, to which user Ian D. responded, quote, "The two O's cancel each other out," unquote.
Haha, that's a good one. Anything on the more technical side?
Indeed, there's a chat about the potential replacements and the future of Mexican drivers in Formula One. User Christine Joe mentioned, quote, "Pato is easily the best Mexican driver right now, although I don't know if he could figure out the nonsense of Pirelli rubber to immediately make the switch though," unquote.
Interesting insights. It's always fascinating to see how quick fans are to jump into team management shoes, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the banter never stops. User Roger Defer quipped, quote, "And the O-word is short for Rodriguez," unquote, playing on the earlier joke about names.
Seems like there's never a dull moment in the fan forums. Thanks for that roundup, William Turner. It certainly paints a vivid picture of the passionate debate swirling around the sport. Thanks for tuning into F1 Motor Fever podcast today. We explored the intricate strategies of Formula One and delved into the fans' perspective on current racing dynamics. It's been a pleasure having you join us. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification icon so you're always in the loop with our discussions. We appreciate every share, like, and comment, it really supports the show.
And keep those spirits high and smiles ready for our next gathering here on F1 Motor Fever podcast. We're here every day, bringing you the freshest takes and deepest dives into the world of motorsport. Oh, and you might want to keep an ear out for our upcoming discussions, there's always something intriguing around the corner.
Indeed, and we genuinely thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us. We're already looking forward to our next episode, promising more engaging content and thrilling Formula One tales.
So, whether you're watching the races or just keen on keeping up with the buzz, remember to stay connected with us. Your insights and interactions make our community a vibrant racetrack of its own.
Pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold.